Let's talk about the stress model. As we move a little deeper into our understanding, the stress model establishes the theoretical foundation for everything that we do. And it is very simple. And it essentially says all behavior arises from a state of stress. In between the behavior and the stress is the presence of emotion. There are only two primary emotions, love and fear. There are two primary emotions. Everything else arises from one of those two states. That is probably a good place for you to stop and have a pause and think about. Because we are raised believing that anger is a very primary emotion. I've even heard some people say that hate can be a primary emotion, or that hate is the opposite to love. No, in reality, there's only love. There is only love. Anything else is fear. Anything else is fear. Are two primary states. Now, how do we describe or define an emotion? This may help you also. An emotion is energy in motion. And your body only knows the two states of love and fear, the two energetic states of love and fear. Energy in motion. A feeling, on the other hand, is the cognitive perception of an emotion. So essentially, your cognitive brain interprets an energy state in your body and calls it a feeling. So from that place, you get all number of feelings, and some of you may, if you've ever been in a counselor's office, you've seen a feeling chart. So you get all these different feelings, but on that feeling chart, if you will go through each one, you can put an underline under each one, and you'll find either love or fear. And it's very, very important that we comprehend that. Now, what's important here is that all behavior arises from a state of stress. Now, stress isn't necessarily being mad at your boss or stressed out because of your hard day at work. Stress can occur through any of your sensory pathways. So essentially, what I'm going to tell you next means that you're not always going to know what causes stress. You can become stressed. In fact, we're all stressed right now if we ate lunch. Your body is in a state of stress right now because it is having to engage the chemicals and the hormones necessary for the digestion process. So it's causing a stress reaction within your brain and your body. And that's why some of us, if we ate too much at lunch, are going to fall asleep in a very short period of time. Biological fact. We become so stressed that we move into a state called hypoarousal. It's where our system shuts down. Now, if you didn't eat lunch, you could be in a state of stress also, if in fact you're hungry. And that may be a state referred to as hyperarousal, where you're still very active, where your stomach is growling, and you may find yourself becoming a little more irritable. So all of us experience stress, but we can experience stress through any of the sensory pathways. What you see, what you smell, what you hear, what you taste, what you touch, and even the temperature of your body. All possibilities for stress. So think about that in the context of your children. What various ways and experiences might they have that could cause them stress? And why is that so important? Because the stress that occurs within their brain and body system also ties in to their past experiences. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the brain, but there's a part of the brain called the amygdala, and it's connected to our brain stem, our state level memory, where all of our memories are stored. Anytime you become stressed, you reach a certain level of stress, that memory level becomes activated. So if you think about all the various ways a child could become stressed, there are so many more beyond what you can conceptualize. you, for the most part, will not know what causes the child stress, which, luckily for the stress model, that is not necessarily important, because all behavior arises from stress. Okay, so essentially what I'm saying very simply, that is, if a child is acting out, it's because he's stressed out. I can't make that any more simple for you. If a child is acting out, it's because he's stressed out. And between the behavior and the stress is a primary emotion, love and fear. If he's acting out in a negative way, it's typically because he's stressed out and he's in a fear-based place. And I'm telling you that after teaching at least 30,000 people and working with over 1,000 families, children who had every diagnosis you can imagine, adults who've had every diagnosis you can imagine, medications out the kazoo, you name it, and having seen significant success. So I'm not telling you that just because I'm just blowing it off the top of my head. I'm telling you because I know it exists. A stressed out child is a child who acts out. An acting out child is a child who's stressed out. An acting out parent is a parent who's stressed out. It doesn't change between children and adults. It's the same thing. The only time you act out in a negative way is when you are stressed and in a place of fear. Now that is really hard. What's hard about that is the fear piece. Because see, our brains immediately want to go to, well, I ain't scared. I ain't scared. What am I scared of? In fact, talking to Susan and David, Susan knew I was probably going to mention this. Her son didn't want to go upstairs to get a Kleenex. She says, well, what's he afraid of? What's so stressful? Right? That's so easy. It's so easy for us to not imagine anything stressful or scary about that. But see, what's important is we're not talking about fear, like boo. We're talking about stress, which leads your cells to constrict into survival, which becomes a fear-based state. If you're in survival, you are in fear. If you are in stress, your system is in a fear-based state right now. If you had a big lunch, your system right now is in a fear-based state. Right this moment. Do you feel scared? No. Do you feel upset? No, you feel quite pleasant. You feel quite at ease. But the reality is unconsciously and internally, you have stress coursing through your system right now. And you're never aware of it. It's unconscious. You're not supposed to be aware of that. If you were aware of that in the moment to moment, you'd be overwhelmed. Research says that we can only attend to 1/millionth of the sensory information bombarding us at any one time.